To each one was given the power of three, which is the fountain. It is the fountainhead of life. It is the river that flows into the eternal waters. You are one in three. The fountainhead is merely a display of the power of three. It is the three dynamics of your life. It is the repeating force that determines all of the outcomes of your life. And when these outcomes are reached, you achieve eternal life. So you are three in one, demonstrating the power of your life, which are the three most critical degrees or stages, however you want to look at it. It's the overall point of your life. These three degrees, and when they form your existence. When one understands the power of three, he becomes a master of his existence, of how he chooses to exist. But there are levels to this. I'm gonna break it down. So the power of three is the doctrine by which revelation comes by. When we get the revelation, it's because one has in effect solved his own disposition. Just like how you are born, you live, you die, the program repeats itself. Just like how the sun is raised, it shines all day, and then it descends all night until a mysterious force repeats this process. And it's endless. It seems that way. When you're repeating time as a consequence looks like it goes on forever. But it's really more like putting time back in its position. So the best way to look at it is like clockwork, where one position is alongside another position, but when both positions are put together, it creates, time. Trying to put you back in your order that you might live your life is possible when one's own or his position comes together with one's many, which are the repeating factors, his nature, by which he lives by. Okay. So like the one naturally doesn't live because it is in all of life, but when one returns back to all, what it does, it kind of opens up a door which allows one to go beyond time in his position to gain his life. He's awakened. This was the repeating story that you were told all throughout religion. The story of Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael. The story of Moses, Aaron, and the Pharaoh. Or God, Jesus, and the devil. Plenty of times we have seen this story played out. You have one that is ultimately good, and then you have two that are fighting for that good. This is you. This is the story that's playing out with you. It's just religion tried its best to keep the secret while making you aware. It was a clever device that they did. Um, so, it's all about one standing in his right position. That's what it's all about. It's not about a time. It's not about a place. It's about a life in which uh, uh, his time became equilateral to his placement while he was there. Okay, so it may be a bad time, um, but that might be the time that God is dealing with. So he takes his place and he has to deal with it, not how he dealt with, you know, let's just say there was a time for wars. He has a place for that. But if this, like, for instance, is uh, the transitional phase, then God only transfers one way, the same way bankers do it. He through their own internal channels. But I'm not going to get into the bankers. I want to get into how plenty of times we're seeing this story being played out in our life, but we're just, we're either afraid to recognize the pattern, kind of like how material is what you see, but the material is going by a fabric, a certain design that makes it the material possible. This is the material, but the material corresponds to a fabric, a code. And if one can reach that code, then he'll begin to understand the cycles, the ones that repeat themselves and the ones that must be broken to create new cycles, more healthier cycles. Um, so, when one gets out of place, by consequence, he has to stand in another person's place. This is the same thing as him seeking the conceptual, the story of conception, the creation story. Instead of seeking the original idea behind the creational story. This is the part played out when God sent his only love. Now follow me here, okay? Now I want you to think of the story. I want you to think what I'm telling you. And I want you to put two and two together so that way you understand what I mean. So you heard, God sent his only love, okay? That was himself, okay? So why are you looking for something else when God himself sent himself to save all of you? Now all of you are looking for something else, and it's crazy. It's about time we fix this. It's about seeking the idea behind the creational story. A magic pen didn't just create this stuff. It was written by hand from a different time. And things were different at that time. So there were different agendas that may have been the root cause for creating certain versions of the same story to produce certain and different effects that could one day be monetized and controlled. So God sends himself in the form of a man. Follow me. The man was the creation of an idea. The idea was not a good idea, the idea was to correct something. Okay, so somebody had to come up with this genius plan. Hey man, there has to be a world, there has to be a way for one to be out of his place and still reach his natural order. So to be able to correct it, there has to be a way for a person not to transcend, but to transpire from going from his from being put in place. Then he makes a choice to move into another place, live a whole other life that is void of your purpose. Um, and then there has to be a way for that person to do that over and over and over and over until he realizes, hey, I'm out of place. I need to be back in my nature. I need to be doing me. I need to be doing what I love to do. I need to be doing things that make me happy, because when I'm happy, I'm the best version of me, you know. So there has to be a way for one to be able to move out of place and move back into place, and that's why he sent Christ. Um, so that man could regain his position, not his time, but his position. Are you with me? It's been a bit of a journey. Okay, so I'm telling you, this is the reason why Christ originally had to be sacrificed, because the Christ that was born was out of place, and the Christ that was resurrected was finally in place. But he did not gain his placement by any popular way, and God, even he cleared all this up. He even made him a king. So even being a king didn't save him from being crucified. He was the leader of the Jews. Even being their leader, the whole world was backing him. Couldn't save him from his death. Even being the son of Mary and Joseph, who were beloved Jews, couldn't save him. Nothing could save him from being crucified, and that was the point. You can call him King, Savior, Mighty Redeemer. You can adorn him, dress him up. You can do however you want to do to place him on this altar. But he's eventually going to have to go to the altar to perform a specific dynamic to show you guys that if I, this is God saying, if I am going to do this to my own son, just have the idea of what I'm going to do to you. Because he was the only person that was brave enough to try to solve this problem. Hey, God, there's got to be a way for one to regain uh, his position after lost it, you know? Okay, so I want to say, the best way to look at this analogy I'm saying, I'm going to wrap it all up, is through the word self and its roots. Okay, so you have self, you have its primary roots are selfish and selfless. Okay, um, so your selfless version. Well, let me say it like this. Um, you so there's selfless, selfish. Okay, the part of that's self, is made up of all of your principles, your morals, your dogmas, your beliefs, your ideas. That's all of you. Okay. Now, the only thing that you are concerned with is keeping that, because that is how you get to God, to your beliefs. So you were allowed to protect you. And this is achieved uh, uh, by the selfless and the selfish, and the ritual that's played out between heaven and earth, God and the devil, Christ and the Antichrist. Okay, so um, the you that is the self is where where I come from is essence. It's your essence. Okay. Um, your eternal essence. It's the nothing, uh, but your bare necessity. Um, like if we were to strip you down to your bare minimums and dress you up, you would think that you would be walking around here butt ass naked with your high superior form on. This is the emperor. So that's essence. Then God sets you on a path, um, and then He gives you a time, and He gives you a place, and then you gotta make a run for it. You gotta go find yourself. That's the eternal path, finding yourself. Um, which brings me to your second self, your selfless. So this is the you in which is in the right place, but at the wrong time. Okay. Um, it is the overall character that your virtue is playing out. It's just always sent to the wrong time in which the ritual must be fulfilled. You must, in essence, turn on your physical form uh, to gain your morality, your do's and don'ts. Hey, man, this is why uh, what's the movie with the fast cars? He always lived by a code, and then that code was the reason why he was able to blast a car out into space. Um, so your selfless version is the characterization of your eternal being. It's just manifesting through the world, not you. Okay. Um, um, God puts himself into a stage play, and then the same way he puts life in you, so he put a great character on this earth meant to play himself out. Um, so he's hoping to play a role, not you. Okay, and this is what tends to happen when one is indoctrinated into this, is one starts believing that all this power is invested in themselves. You know, that because their name is John Doe, that's the reason why God picked that person. And this is where the selfishness comes from. This is the turning on the Christ. This is when the people were shouting, "Crucify, crucify, crucify," because that is our nature in its a logical conclusion. So if we're in the right place in the wrong time, then selfishness is in the right time, but in the wrong place. That's why they crucified the wrong person, an innocent person. So let me conclude this. So the selfish person is the one who chooses to live his own one's own life out instead of God's um, existence. That is the story of the Antichrist. But you don't. Here's the key here. You don't. Your job is not to sacrifice the devil. Okay, that's like trying to declare a war on drugs or a war on fear. It's endless and it's pointless. Um, and it goes nowhere. So God did not say hate your enemy. He said love your enemy. Come together with your enemy. And we lost it. We started loving our abusers instead of loving ourselves. Uh, you don't fight the devil. You fight you So you take yourself out so that way Christ can be resurrected and he fights the devil.